At this point, I was like, do you guys want to save money on your gas and electricity? But I've already established a ton of rapport for 45 minutes having some beers with them. So from there, I signed up like 6 people at the party.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.
Hey, welcome back to Call the Damn Leads, the show by sales professionals for sales professionals. I'm your host, Drewbie Wilson. With more than 2 decades in sales, I've seen it, been through it, heard about it. Now I'm bringing those stories to you, my favorite people in the world, the sales community. Because let's be honest, this is the greatest job on earth. It doesn't matter where you come from, what background, what personality type, you can create an amazing life in sales. And today's guest, no stranger to the journey, I'd like to welcome James Donovan to the show. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me, Drewbie. I'm looking forward to this.
Hey, I'm excited to have you. I want to jump right in. I want to hear your crazy sales story.
Craziest sales story. All right. Well, this one goes a little back from before the company I started. I was actually knocking doors in Australia when I was backpacking there. I was selling gas and electricity in Melbourne, and I remember we were working 6 days a week. So we had to go out on a Saturday. I was doing pretty good. I already hit my quota for the week on sales that my manager was looking for. I remember I walked up to this house that I could tell a bunch of people were still up from the night before partying, and they were having a bit of a party on the lawn. And as I walked in, I just launched my binder in the bushes. And as you do in sales, you match the energy of who you're selling to. So I just walked up and asked them what was going on, and they offered me a beer, and I sat down and started having some beers with them. And about 30, 45 minutes later, someone was like, what are you here for anyways? Like, naturally, I'm Canadian. They're all Australian. So I'm not fitting in to that degree. At this point, I was like, do you guys want to save money on your gas and electricity? But I've already established a ton of rapport for 45 minutes having some beers with them. So from there, I signed up like 6 people at the party. And yeah, I mean, at that point, I texted my managers like, hey, I'm going to be hanging out at this spot all day. I've already made like 6, 7 sales now. I think I picked up a few more, and then I got picked up at the end of the day. And yeah, well, there was a few more beers had that afternoon to celebrate, and then with my new friends. But that was that's the one that comes to mind. It's kind of like the craziest sales story.
Man, I love that story. One of my favorite parts about sales is like literally being able to truly be yourself and get into rapport with people and finding the ability to kind of just naturally step into the situation is something that it does take a little skill to develop over time, because you kind of need the confidence to just like F it, you know what I mean? And also though, in a situation where you're in a different country, people can clear that. I'm sure there was an accent difference, right? Australian, Canadian, there's nothing, very similar about that. Maybe a little bit wonky. I'm from America, so don't judge me, y'all. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so talk to me a little bit about being in sales and being in a different country and kind of what was that like? Because I'm sure there's some people out there right now that are like, man, I'm afraid to go and talk to people. And here you are, a stranger in a new country, making it happen.
Yeah, there was definitely, I don't know, like where I was working, there was a lot of backpackers that pretty much they went to this job. It was all commission. It was really just a way to meet more like-minded backpackers traveling around. I feel I got lucky. I took it serious. I implemented the training we do every day. It was very like Wolf of Wall Street vibes every morning, like rah, getting people fired up. But I looked at it as an opportunity to make some good money as a backpacker. And a lot of other travelers looked at it like, wow, all the Aussies, they're making all the money because people trust them right away. Where sure, that may have happened to some degree, but I leaned into it like I have an opportunity to be different from everyone else at the door and lean into my own personality and play into, well, not play into, but like I obviously do sound different than everyone's door I'm knocking on. So let's lean into that. And I don't know, I just ran with my own personality, would make jokes about Canada, whatever it is, and naturally was able to build some rapport. And I had a blast with it, honestly. I did it for 6 months. It's something I never thought I would say I would do, but I would say anyone who's looking to get into sales, you should go and knock doors for at least 6 months, and then you should do phone sales. And I did that as well in Australia. And I think I owe all of my success to those experiences.
Man, I appreciate you sharing that. I personally have never had to go and knock doors. I'm really grateful for it. I have done some like door to door stuff, more like on the B2B side, like kind of recruiting for events and stuff that we had going on. But I never had to just like go and knock doors in a neighborhood. Funny enough, I went to one recruiting meeting for like I don't know, it was like a cable sales, and I like watched the rah meeting in the morning, and I'd walked in and they're all in like suits and ties and all dressed to the nines looking good. And I was like, wait, is this like a suit and tie thing? And the lady's like, yeah. I was like, I'm out. I like turned around and walked out the door, and the guy that I was supposed to be meeting with was like walking out at the same time. He's like, hey, what are you doing? It's like, nah, suit and ties, I'm out, big dog. Not going to work for me. So I never ended up knocking doors, but I spent 2.5, 3 years cold calling. So I 100% agree. I think anyone who, at some point in their life, everyone should take a job in sales where they're literally just like kind of forced to call and talk to strangers. It's so good for you personally to be able to communicate and get out and have those conversations. And so, man, I'd be curious for you. So you spend this time, abroad, you learn sales. Where do you go from there? Did you come back and immediately get back into sales? Was it something you just fell in love with? How did it go?
Yeah. So when I was finishing up traveling and selling and, making enough money to kind of move to the next spot, I was doing this in my like early to mid 20s. And then I'll just add in quickly, Drewbie, that's the other thing. Maybe there was a part of, I know I'll never see these people again. So like, it wasn't like I was knocking doors in my hometown and there was that potential embarrassment. Oh, I might see this person. I was like, I'm never going to see these people again if they slam the door in front of my face. Like I truly don't care. And being in your early 20s, so there's a level of like, okay, I don't care what's going to happen here. But yeah, after that, I came back to Canada and I got a sales job in Toronto, bounced around a couple of sales jobs, trying to find my footing, trying to find something, one, I enjoyed selling, and two, I could sell and a good fit. And I love telling this story because it's pretty different from a lot of people's paths. But before I went out on my own 6.5 years ago, I was actually selling ads on adult websites for 1.5 years. So that was a very interesting experience. One, for obvious reasons, but two, it was before COVID and it was still in the days of Skype, and all of our selling was done typing messages back and forth over Skype. Like there wasn't phone calls, there wasn't video calls. We were finding buyers through different forums, whatever that process looked like, but it was all message, like selling over messaging, which I thought is kind of nuts. And looking back now, knowing we were selling like a $30,000 a month ad placement all from a message on Skype, like that seems pretty nuts to me.
It sounds nuts unless you actually have known some people from the industry and know, like, I worked with a guy, he was in one of the masterminds I was a part of for many years, and he was like, bro, we millions and millions and millions of dollars like on a daily basis flowing through some of these websites. And so the marketing spend, and these guys just had the money, and it was a very behind closed doors kind of like low key conversation, and the ability to communicate and to sell by chat. I mean, that's a big deal, dude. And so I don't want to gloss over the fact that, yeah, maybe it was in an industry that some people don't find morally and ethically above board, but like, it is what it is. Yep. It's an industry that's existed since dawn of time. It's still, though, to talk about the ability to sell by chat and to communicate with people and to be able to not just sell like small amounts, but very large amounts. I want to go into that for a second because it's something I have experience with as well. And sometimes when I'm telling people about it, they kind of look at me like, nah, I don't know. That doesn't sound, but it's 100% possible. So how did you, like, what was your training process to start selling by chat, and how has it explored or expanded since COVID and all of those times?
Yeah, so I got lucky. The team I was on had some rock star sales reps who I just shadowed them. I got placed beside them in the office, and just that was the other nice thing about selling via text or chat is you can't really get hung up by an objection because you have time to send that next message. Like even if it takes a minute to send it versus if you just get caught, you know, for lack of better words, with your pants down on a Zoom call, that's a long minute. So that part was interesting. But I think to your point, just the industry itself, that's just the way things worked, where they're spending a lot on ads and they're just like, they're quick to make decisions. And it's, hey, we got this new spot that's opened up. You send over the stats. Here's the geographies that the placement's going to be in. Here's the amount of people that view it. Here's what the cost per impression looks like. Do you want it? I'm talking to 4 other people right now. So it was just, I don't know. It was more like there's a lot of urgency that we could put into a message. And sure, some of that may have been fake scarcity at times, but it came across different than if you were on a Zoom call and you're like, hey, Drewbie, I got this spot right now. It's $30K for the month, but I'm speaking to 4 other people right now. Like, do you want it or not? It just hit different over messaging.
That's actually it's an astute observation. So like, I appreciate that you brought that up, because it is important to remember that whatever your industry, the product, the service that you're working with, there is a standard operating procedure for how most of your clients typically buy or make those decisions. And so it's good to understand where they are at in the journey, kind of like, are they problem aware? Are they really researching? Are they solution focused and oriented at this point? And it sounds like you kind of found, hey, these people are very problem aware. They're solution oriented, and it's I don't want to say commodities trading, but for lack of a better term, that's kind of what it sounded like in terms of, hey, here's what we have. If you want it, great. If not, we're going to sell it to somebody. We just got to find the right guy that wants to spend the right amount of money. And it's interesting how that kind of just exists everywhere. It's why I've always loved sales, because you can kind of come from anywhere. And if you understand arbitrage and hey, buy low, sell high, you can find an amazing opportunity. So for you, how did you transition into kind of what you're doing now, right? You worked for these couple businesses, you've seen some success. What made you decide to put on your crazy hat and jump into owning your own business and doing it your way?
Yeah. So I've always wanted to work for myself and have the ability to travel. And I found when I got back into Toronto and I was working for a couple of different companies, trying to honestly just keep the lights on. Toronto is not a cheap city to live in or get ahead in. I ended up actually I got let go from that position. But I do think it was a blessing in disguise, because I did get to see what affiliate marketing looked like. I got to see how much money there is online, whether I was making it directly or the company I was working for was making it. But that was the push I think I needed. Saw an ad on Facebook about starting a digital marketing company, get 5 clients at $2,000 a month. You make 10K, life's perfect. Well, I bought into that narrative pretty hard, and it wasn't that easy. And of course, I was just so naive of thinking, oh, you make, how hard is it to get 5 people to pay you $2,000 a month with no experience, and then factor in expenses and how do you actually deliver results and keep them and all of those things. But that's more or less what happened. I was let go, and then I was like, I just took a bet on myself, and I've been, I guess for a lack of better words, just really stubborn to not quit over the last 6.5 years. And it's just continued to develop and evolve in different areas. But yeah, now we work primarily with accounting firms, generating them leads and helping them book sales calls. So very similar to selling ads on adult websites.
I mean, it's not as sexy, but it is what it is, right? We got to make money somehow. And I think that's one of the interesting things about getting into the space online specifically is the opportunities are there. But a lot of times if you start too broadly, it's really difficult to stand out, because, it's like, all right, well, there's a McDonald's on every corner. Mm-hmm. And, while most of us just see the McDonald's sign, they don't know each of those is individually owned as a franchise. There's someone who's responsible for it. So like, even those, you're still competing against other people, and not to mention the thousands of other small fast food restaurants. So it is a difficult space. But when you can kind of niche down, and that's why they say the riches are in the niches. But when you can find your lane and you can find the people who you truly speak to, you know their language, their pain points, all the things, it is cool how you can carve out a pretty fun little lane where you can really have, like you said, the freedom to build something, to travel, and to enjoy what entrepreneurship really looks like. It's a grind, you guys. Let's not, fluff it up anywhere. It's tough. But one thing you said that I thought was really interesting, because I love that we have a very similar journey in how we got to a lot of these places, but it's that, hey, I got let go from an opportunity, turned into being a huge blessing, didn't really recognize it right away. But looking back now, this is kind of where we see. So I want to talk to that for a second, because when you were in that moment where you got let go, and I know there's some folks out there that are kind of in that position where either they're on the bubble or they're kind of like, maybe just got let go and trying to figure out their next move. What was the first thing you focused on?
Honestly, the first thing I was thinking of was, hey, I think I got a 2-month runway here with some severance. Let's use this to see what can make happen in the first 60 days. And then from there, it was just a matter of, all right, I don't want to quit. And I think a lot of it was, and I go back to saying this, and I've heard it from other people, but you just got to burn the boats. If you have 1 foot in and 1 foot out, and you're like, well, I'm doing this on the side, and just go all in and bet on yourself, because if you can't bet on yourself, who else is going to bet on you? And that, I think that comes across in those sales conversations that you're having with potential clients. Like, they need to see that one way or another, that you're all in to make it work for them. If you know you have a safety net somewhere else, and I'll say this, I was single. I don't have kids. So like, that's a huge difference than someone else who's maybe on the fence and there's a family to provide for. So I'll just add that caveat, but just bet on yourself and burn the boats. Don't have a plan B, because if you truly believe you can make it happen, you'll make it happen. It may take a while, but you will make it happen.
It's one of those woo-woo sides of this industry that's always interesting to go down the rabbit hole on, when it's like, hey man, a lot of times you put yourself in a situation where you had no choice and like you had to figure it out, right? So, yeah. It's like, did you figure it out? Yes. And I think that's one of the superpowers that most really skilled sales professionals, they have and continue to develop over time, is their ability to figure it out. What do you think?
I agree. I don't know. I just keep going back to I'm just too stubborn to quit. So I just know I can't lose if I don't quit. I might not always win, but I'm not going to lose if I don't quit. And if you keep showing up, listening to podcasts like yours, you invest in training, you hang out in the rooms where people are doing bigger and better things than you are, it's hard to lose, because you're just surrounded by other people doing great things. So like, having the resources like your podcast, there's so much knowledge and channels on Instagram that people can be watching. Everything's around you that you need to be successful. It's just really a matter of execution and your work ethic.
I don't know that I could say it any better myself. And while we could probably nerd out on this for like many, many hours, James, I do want to respect your time. How do me and the listeners come find you, follow you, check out more of your content? Man, I'm sure this is just the tip of the iceberg for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So easiest way, on LinkedIn, James Donovan, profile pops up from Toronto. Follow me on Instagram, James Donovan Marketing, or visit us on our website, accountingleadsnow.com.
I will make sure all those are in the show notes, man. I'm very appreciative of your time. It's always cool when you get to meet someone who's been down a very similar path. That's why I have this show, right? Because there's so many of us out there that understand this journey. So thank you for taking some time to share yours with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Listen, if you guys enjoyed the show, go share it on social media, share it on LinkedIn, tag me and James, let the world know you got some value out of this conversation. Maybe you know somebody who is like freaking terrified of what they're going to do next, send them this episode. Let them know, hey, I think you're going to like this. I think there's some value in it for you. Because that's what this is all about. Sharing the message, putting those stories out there, letting the world know that if you're in sales, you're not alone, and we've got so much to share with the world. And maybe you have a story. Maybe you want to come on here and talk about some crazy stuff that happened and how you were able to build a life from it. I want you to be a guest. Head over to callthedamnleads.com/podcast. Send us your details. Get signed up. While you're there, grab a hat, sweatshirt, keychain, maybe a book, something. Support the show. We'll see you guys next time. You know what to do. Go call the damn leads.
When the doubt gets loud, but answer that call. Vision ain't real till you grind at speed, so breathing deep. Then call the damn leads. Call the damn leads.